Alrighty, hello everyone. Welcome back to Date Talk TV. Today we have a very special guest. I am so excited to announce we have Jamie Date here. Jamie, please give us a little intro on yourself. The floor is yours.
Hi. Yes, my name is Jamie Date. I am a dating coach for men, and I have been doing this for about 5 years now. And I help men in all areas of dating. And I also help women as well, but primarily men. Just make dating make sense again.
Wow, how many people have you helped over the years? Like, how long have you been doing this?
So I've been doing this for 5 years. To be honest with you, I probably couldn't even tell you how many people that I've coached at this point. I've been with different companies and now I've started my own and, hundreds and hundreds, you know what I mean? I feel like each person that comes to me has a little bit of a different story, a little bit of different of why they want the help. But the common denominator is most of the time they want to find a partner, they want to find the one.
When they approach you, is it very much a mix of like, I just don't know how to approach women? Or is it just like, I am not successful on apps or I'm not successful doing it myself. I need help.
So there's really three ways to meet women, right? Online dating, cold approach, and social circle. And what I help is all three. And so people come to me for for various reasons, right? So like you said, I'm not getting any matches on the apps, or I have no idea how to talk to women, or I'm not comfortable in my own skin, and so it's very much outer game and inner game, as we call it, right? So, what you're doing and saying with women, which is the outer game, as well as how you're feeling and healing, the inner game.
Yeah, so I was noticing that some of the people that like to come to our events, even if they haven't made any matches yet, a lot of the times they come out, especially men, they say, you know what, we're out here just because we want to practice talking to women. And I
Mhm.
was like, that's actually like a great thing in itself. I was like, I feel like, especially with COVID and all that kind of stuff and people different having different kinds of anxieties, sometimes they find it hard to do that. Like they might be really energetic with their friends. They're easy to talk to around other guys, but then you put a woman in front of them and they're like, hi.
Yeah,
And then they just kind of freeze and then like that's it. And then the
yeah,
woman's like, oh hey, now
yeah,
what? Hi.
yeah. No, absolutely. And I think women would have a lot more empathy if they understood what men have to go through to even talk to us. Women, there are some parts within dating that we have it very easy. We just got to show up looking pretty, and guys will come and talk to us. But we expect them to do the legwork.
Right.
And there is reason for that, right? That is healthy masculine energy. It is a way for us to see who are the leaders of this group, because that's who we want to be with. It's our own evolutionary way of determining like who is the man that's gonna be able to provide the life, right? If we're going back to like evolutionary traits, and so in that we almost expect the man to come up, but also honoring that it is very nerve wracking. And so what you're talking about is a process called desensitization, where if you go up and the more you just talk to women without being dependent on any certain outcome, like getting the number or getting the date or a kiss code, whatever, you're just talking to women. And the more you talk to us, the more you'll realize they're not really very much different than us. And so when you do that, then it's going to be a lot easier to then go to the next phase, which is, okay, how can I cultivate a stronger connection with this person because I find her interesting, because I find her attractive, because I want to see where this goes.
Right. I know. Yeah. Most of us women, I feel like that's is what it's about. It's like, I just show up and then what, right? And then it's like, I expect the male to, like you were saying, like do most of the legwork, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
you're the one who's like, making the first move. You're the one who's coming up to me first. You're the one who's like initiating a conversation. And I can see how that could be a lot of pressure for some men. Maybe not the ones who are like super charismatic and they're like, oh, this is easy. But for the other ones who are not in that category, they're just like, this is a lot of pressure. This is very nerve wracking for me to come up to you. Like that's the hardest part. Step one is like that in the
Right.
fact that I just came up to you and I just started talking to you. Right. And I've had a couple of friends who have had a positive experience with turning down men in terms of the least they are brave enough to go up to the woman. Right. And they say, hi, I'm interested in you, etc. and then they have a positive experience, at least it's a very positive letdown, which gives them confidence to keep doing what they're doing, right?
Yeah.
Instead of putting them down and feeling like, oh, well, I finally made an attempt to go talk to a woman and look at what she did, right? So they
Right.
have like more of a positive approach in terms of like, oh, I appreciate your bravery for coming out and talking to me. Unfortunately, I'm not interested, or, you know, I'm already taking something like that. And I feel like that's a better approach to, you know, turning a man down, instead of just being like, ooh, no, get away from me. Like, you know, like I feel like that doesn't help their self-esteem, or like all the, you know, anxiety or all the pressure they felt to just go and talk to you, for you to just be like in 2 seconds, bye. You know, either I feel like if I was the man in that position, I'd be like, wow, I just put myself out there and this is what happens. And this is exactly why I don't do this.
Right. Exactly. You're absolutely right, you know. And I think that it's interesting. I think almost two things are happening right now. Either, you know, this kind of like neo feminism that's happening, right? Which is kind of the aftermath of, you know, traditional feminism, which obviously everyone is for. You know, women are equal to men, you know, when it comes to what we can do for society, for the government, for whatever, payment, all that good stuff. But now it almost seems like there's this like very loud minority, where, you know, it's almost like this male bashing society. I mean, I don't know about you, but I know for me, like sometimes when I'm scrolling on Instagram, which I'm trying to get better at, all of a sudden, you know, I'll see all of these posts about men are terrible and men are this, and look at, you know, what a man, and I'd rather be in the woods with a bear than a man. It's like,
Oh my gosh, I remember that for a
yeah,
second.
first of all, you wouldn't. But it's funny though, because the opposite true, which is this red pill movement, which I'm not sure if you're aware of, you know, men who are bashing women. And it's so funny. They're really arguing the same point. Like no one's talking about this. They're really arguing the same point, but opposites, right? You know, women don't want women to, you know, neo-feminists don't want women to, you know, cater to the man at their own detriment, right? And so therefore they put men as this villain. Red pill men, you know, they don't want their other brothers to fall suit and you know, bend over backwards for women. So they bash women, they make them the villain. So it's really funny to see this like juxtaposition, but really they're arguing the same point, which I find hilarious, you know. And my whole goal with all of this is to get us all back on the same team again. And it's interesting though, because part of what I do is, you know, for select few of my clients is I'll be a catfish, a professional catfish. So I will actually act as them online, texting girls, and showing them how to do it, right? Because men, they, you know, God bless them, a lot of them are very logical. And so, you know, they match with that. They're like, hey, let's go out for dinner. But we need to figure you a little bit out first. You know, we have to build that attraction, because our attraction circuitry as women does not work the same. And so what always blows my mind, and if any women are listening to this podcast right now, how few and far in between the times that women actually ask me as the man any questions at all. They do not lead the conversation whatsoever. The man has to do everything to start the conversation, lead the conversation, ask the right questions, say the right thing, ask the date. And it blows my mind. I'm like, you're agreeing as this girl to go out on a date with me, and you have not asked me one question about myself at all. It always blows my mind. So if you are a girl out there, put a little bit of effort into that conversation. If anything, just to vet out the guys so you don't end up having a terrible date.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, that sounds very, very accurate. I can see from, as best I can, from a male's point of view, if, you know, they're the ones doing all the legwork, like, well, I initiate the conversation. I'm the one who's saying, hey, let's do something, or I'm saying this, or I'm saying that. And then on the other side, it's just maybe the woman is just saying like, yes or no, like those kinds of answers, but not necessarily leading up with like a kind of open-ended question per se. Like,
Right.
okay, well, now you asked me about this, so why don't I ask you about that, or something similar,
Yeah.
or along those lines. Like,
Even a what about you? You know what I mean? It's so rare when I get it. It really kills me. I'm just like, wow. But you know, so that's something that I do teach. So you can, it's still, so all to all the men out there, yes, you can sit here and go, yeah, women, you know, da 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 da, and now I'm just going to get mad. Well, no, that's also not the answer either. There is a way to win. Find a way to win, and that's something that I teach is talk in a way to where she wants to respond, right? So one of the tricks that I teach is instead of asking a question, make a strong statement instead, right? And that is compelling enough for women to want to respond because it makes it a lot more fun, right? So, off of her profile, you can make an assumption instead of asking her, oh, so tell me about yourself. You can say, something tells me you're this, and this. And it makes it a little bit more fun, a little bit like a game that she's going to respond, yes, either you're right or no, you're not. And then either way, you're in a conversation.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's a much better approach. Like, we're basically not saying like you have to do like full research mode kind of thing, but like you were saying, like if you get a quick glance, like if someone had looked at my profile and they were just like, it looks like you're really into working out, I'd be like, actually, I am a fitness instructor. Like, like that would like want me to continue the conversation instead of just being like, hi, how are you?
Yeah.
Like, there's ways to make the conversation more enticing, like you're saying, like versus like, hey, it looks like you like to do this, or is it true you like this, or have you ever done this, or oh look, I just saw you recently went to this concert, like how was that? I think any kind of question of that kind in a message is way better than if I just get a like, hi, how are you, or if the mail just gets like sends an emoji. It's like that doesn't really tell me anything. Like I was like, you just like sending me like an emoji or one word doesn't really entice me to be like, ooh, like let me see who you are and let me see like what are you doing? Like, it's like it's the difference between the yes or no questions and open-ended questions, and also looking like you put effort into what you were about to tell me is a big difference, I would say. So I know you have all the tips and all the tricks and all that stuff, and you've been in this business for a while. So I have a couple questions that I would like you to answer. So one of the things that we are talking about, so, what can men or women do to attract better energy into their dating life?
Oh, I love the way that this question is phrased. So this is actually a mindset, and the term I use is frames, right? Right. So your framed like a sunglasses frame, right? The frame in which you see the world, how you see the world, right? It really correlates to one of the frames that I teach, which is if you start thinking of people like energy, a lot more things start to make sense, right? So, for example, my ex, right? Everyone, oh, I hate that guy, whatever, da, da, da. No, there's nothing wrong with him. His energy is just meant for something else, right? For someone else, and that's okay. So when you start looking at things in the way of energy, a lot more doors open up. So I love this question, first of all. Second of all, what can men and women do to attract better energy into their life? So first of all, we're all frequency, right? We are all energy. And so if you want to attract, if you're sitting here, if you're a guy sitting here, every girl, is lowbrow, or she's not good enough, or I'm expecting something better. And women, you're sitting here saying, hey, men are the worst, men are terrible. That's exactly what you're going to find, because that's what you're putting your energy into. When you speak words of existence, my favorite quote is, words are spells. That's why they call it spelling. So watch what you say about the other gender. And then the other thing too is raise your frequency, right? So one of the exercises that I do with my clients is I have them write down a list of everything that they're looking for in a partner, right? Okay, I want her to be attractive. I want him to be kind. I want, them to be ambitious, what have you. What I'd like to do next is have them then rate themselves of how they are showing up for those qualities in themselves. If you want an attractive partner, how often are you going to the gym? How often are you bypassing dessert and eating high protein, low carb diet, right? Like, what are you doing to make sure that you are sexually appealing to the other person? And same thing, it goes with being kind. Are you kind to yourself? How are you talking to yourself? If you treat yourself as important, other people are going to treat you important. And the opposite's true. If you don't think yourself is important, if you don't think yourself is a catch, your body language is going to change. The way that you speak is going to change. The way that you come across is going to change. And you're internally teaching people how to treat you, which is not important in that example. So also being very cognizant about how you're showing up in that relationship to yourself. And that's going to help you attract that better energy.
Yeah, I love the way that you put that answer, because I think the same way in terms of people when they're talking to me about things like this. So for example, when you were saying, it's basically like, you're like, I want someone to be super fit and attractive. And it's like, well, am I super fit and attractive? Like, it's like, am I also putting in that effort at the gym?
Yep.
Like, am I, do I want the partner that I'm trying to attract, like, would they also be attracted to me? Like, how fair would it be to be like, oh no, the person I want to date has to be like super fit, super ripped. And then I'm just like, no, I don't like exercise. I don't like to sweat day in my life. Like, I eat terrible, like those kinds of things. And it's like, how are you going to attract that kind of energy when it's like, I'm putting out there to the world, like, no, I want you to look like that, but I'm not going to look like that. I feel like that's not fair. And that's not helping. Like, let's say if it was me, like that wouldn't be helping me try to attract that kind of energy. Right. Cause it'd just be like, if someone was looking like the person I was trying to attract, if that was their case and they're looking at me and they're like, why would I be attracted to you if you're like, no, I hate the gym. I hate sweating. I don't lift in my life. And this person's like, I'm always at the gym. I care about eating healthy. I care about being fit. And I'm like, oh yeah, how's this going to work then? Like,
yeah, exactly. And also the other thing too, especially, and this is, I don't know if this is fit for YouTube, so maybe not, but the conversation of porn, right? So, and maybe I'll just call it corn because I'm sure I don't know if we're going to get canceled on YouTube or not, but so when it comes to watching porn, the problem with men that they're facing right now is with the abundance of it, they're tricking their bodily reception into believing that they can receive that quick dopamine, that attractive woman for minimal effort. And their body doesn't understand that what they're doing is what they're doing it to is a screen, right? And so because it cannot understand that we're looking at a screen right now. And so over time, the other issue that I'm seeing with men is that they're now being programmed into thinking, okay, my body is telling me every girl is too much work. And it's because they've been tricking themselves that they can get these women for minimal effort. And so that's the other thing. When you join my program, one of the things that I tell you is to cease and desist for 3 months is no porn, right? And it's and women also fall into this suit as well. They're also believing because I'm young, because I'm pretty, because I do all of this, and look really good, I deserve the world. I deserve for him to come up and I'm the girl, I'm the prize, right? And also it's understanding that you also have to put in effort and legwork into that relationship to make it work. You cannot ride on those looks forever, girl. So it's both kind of struggling to get over those hurdles to really get back on the same team.
Yeah, I think it's funny that you said that because, I mean, not to compare ourselves to celebrities, but Kim K did say like recently, she was like, I only got like 10 years of looks left. And a lot of people in the comments were like bashing her because they were like, what do you mean? They were like, you're full of, Botox and all the cosmetic surgeries you can think of. So I was like, she could technically look good probably forever, but it was just funny, like the way that she had put it. I was like, so one of the people had commented on what you had said earlier about, yes, men have to do all the legwork for sure. And then I asked this person, I was like, how's your love life been? And they were like, love life is interesting. So I'm going to be like, maybe that's like an in-between answer. Like it's kind of going good, kind of not, maybe, potentially.
Yeah.
Like, I always feel like when they say interesting, it's like, it's because it is happening, but I'm wondering like, maybe it's just like, it's not
a really good way of rephrasing that to sound more interesting, to actually sound more interesting, is you could say, I love it and I hate it. Because when you say I love it and I hate it, what is that going to make the other person want to say? Why do you love it? Why do you hate it? And now you're in a conversation.
There you go.
So there's little tricks to help what you're actually saying, not changing who you are, not changing what you're saying, right? But the way that you say things can just sound a little bit more entertaining, a little bit more enticing. And this is the stuff that I teach.
This person, the same person, they really agree with everything you're saying. I was like, I'm sure this is most men that are out there. It's saying that, they say, I say it will feel as though in the beginning it takes so much effort, and women, like Jamie said, is the prize. So the question is the juice worth the squeeze most of the time?
So, I'm sorry, I didn't realize that was the question. What was the question?
He was just responding to what you had said about, I'll put it up again. He was just responding to like what you said, as like men have to do all the legwork in the beginning, and just had what you said about like women being the prize kind of thing. So like women kind of take like a step back while the men are like essentially doing all the work, and the women's kind of like, yeah, I'm waiting, I'm waiting, waiting.
So I think we're looking too narrowly. So there is a reason why. So here's another frame to look through. Is everyone has a good reason to do everything, right? Women aren't out here just going, yep, you have to do everything for me. There's a reason why we've been conditioned to let the man make the first move. Now, does that mean he's going to be making all of the moves? Absolutely not. And if that is the case, the man needs to work on his boundaries and have a willingness to walk away, because the woman, as a healthy, healed woman, I also understand that I need to also put an effort into the relationship, right? Or to grow, at least even in the talking phases, right? If I am that girl that's just sitting here looking pretty and that guy keeps trying to impress me and entertain me and take me out, okay, that's both of our faults for letting this relationship cultivate and no one's speaking up about boundaries. But I will say, in the beginning, it is more frequent, not always, because for example, I actually approached my boyfriend, but it is more frequent that the man make the first move, and I will tell you why. So again, this goes back to evolution. We cannot fight evolution. We are what we are, what we are, what we are, right? And women, physical appearance is not our main attraction trigger, right? So let's talk about attraction triggers. Attraction trigger is the thing that triggers attraction, the thing that makes me go, huh, okay, now I'm interested, right? For a man, what is it? What is the number one thing that makes a man go, huh, I'm interested? It's real simple. Physical appearance. That's the man's barrier to entry. Is that the only thing he's interested in? Of course not. You guys aren't animals, despite what the media might tell you, right? You guys are not animals, but that is your barrier to entry, and that's okay. That's evolution. You like a woman that looks good to you. That is the key for you to know if you're attracted, right? Women, it's not so simple. Women, our number one attraction trigger, our barrier to entry, the equivalent of physical appearances to a man, is not looks, is not money, is not status. It's a man's circumstance. Who this man is in the world, how people talk to him, how he talks to people. We need to see who this guy is in his environment. That is the thing that attracts us. So when we see a man, and I'll give you two examples in my own life. One time I was at a bar, whatever, and I'm out with my friends and I see a very attractive man, right? And of course, me being a dating coach, all right, come on, Jamie, you can do it. You teach this, go and do it. Go and talk to this guy, right? I go up and I talk to him. The minute this man opens his mouth, I'm like, I've made a huge mistake, right? Because although he's attractive, his vibe that he's pushing out, the way his friends are treating him, the way the environment, nope, I'm not interested anymore. And now I got someone following me around for the rest of the night wondering what happened, right? This is why women don't typically approach, because it's not like that for us. Men, it's easy. You look at us, you know you're attracted. Women, it's not so simple. I'll give you another example. I got lucky. My boyfriend, I saw him. He's playing kendama, at a bar with his friends. I see how he's talking to people. I see him, the way that he's interacting with them, the way they are interacting with him. Now I'm interested. Now I go up and approach him. I actually talk about the thing that he's doing. He's actually doing something that caught my attention. Now we actually have something to talk about. And then, of course, we hit it off, and the rest is history. But in that, this is why women, it's such a gamble, right? Men, it's a lot easier because you guys have a direct, connection between your attraction circuitry and the way that women look. So that's why. And also the other thing too is women, so the other part of this is women also want to stay on the other side, because women, going back to evolution, we want that hunter. We want that hunter. We want that person that shows us that confidence. That is the thing that attracts us. So what better way to test that theory on letting the guy actually come up and be brave enough to talk to us? That's our first test. And then we have to put an effort. So yes, while men start the effort train, you should not be the only one carrying the effort train. Women then come in, and you guys both, is almost like a cycle. It's a dance, really. That's the way I describe game. Game is less of a game, it's more of a dance, right? Men lead, women follow, but you can't just have a dead partner, right? She also has to be moving and making it look damn good doing it.
Yeah, that is very, very well put. I was like, loved your enthusiasm on that whole thing. And those examples were great. I was like, those are perfect real life examples that I'm sure people can relate to.
Mm-hmm.
And now I have a couple different questions. So I actually got this one from similar to one of the things you had on your Instagram, where I was like, and this is sometimes people ask this, like, do you think you have to be 100% trauma free from a previous relationship order to date again?
So trauma, no, I mean, of course not. And what is trauma free? I feel like everyone has certain traumas. Trauma might be a strong word. I feel like trauma is one of those words like narcissist, where we're just throwing that word around for funsies. But everyone has gone through something, and it's all of a matter. Like for me, the red flag is never the trauma itself. The red flag could be how that person is handling that trauma, that issue, that, what have you, right? And so if that person maybe has been cheated on, for example, right? Okay, that's not the red flag. The red or green flag would be, okay, how is that person healing themselves? Does that person have a good support system intact? Maybe a therapist, a good close friend circle, where me as the woman, I'm not going to become his future therapist, where that person is understanding and also taking into account and responsibility of how the role that he played in that relationship, right? And so making sure that there's this open line of communication. I think the biggest indicator that you are ready for your next relationship is if you are able to drop your ego and say, you know what, I could have responded differently in that relationship, even if the other person cheated. Cheating is wrong, don't get me wrong. Cheating is wrong. But if in that example, for example, if you are someone that is able to say, I should have spoke up sooner. I should have called attention to this out sooner. I could have, what was my role to play in this, instead of blaming everyone else? Now you have a growth mindset, and therefore you are ready for your next relationship, because there are going to continue to be challenges, hopefully not cheating, but continue to be challenges, because life isn't easy. Relationships aren't easy. Right? So how can we cultivate this type of relationship where we can come together and come to an understanding to deepen the relationship? And that's how you know that you're going to be ready for it.
Wow, it's very well put. I really like how you phrased the, like, how are you handling it part.
Mm-hmm.
Because I feel like a lot of people that I've encountered say, like, well, I've been through XYZ. And then I think about, okay, like, what have you done to, grow from that or feel better from that? Because I feel like it's one thing. I feel like it's a red flag to me if someone's like, I've been through XYZ kind of hurt, trauma, previous relationship. And then, and I'm thinking, like, what have you done to, heal from that, or to feel
It's almost
better?
like the first part of the sentence. What's the second part? And because of that, I'm doing this now,
Right. Yeah. So I'm always, not necessarily like I'm always waiting for that follow up, but I'm curious, like, because I feel like sometimes a lot of people like to keep it as like a blank statement, like, oh, well, I went through this in my previous relationship and I don't want to go through it again. Right. And a part of me is like, okay, well, if you went through that, like, are you still healing from that? Like, does that still hurt you? Like, is that very sensitive to you? Because then on my end, I'm like, is that something like I should never bring up ever? Or like, we'll never ever talk about that. Because I feel like people I've known that have dated in different parts of their lives, they're always like, yeah, I feel like people like to trauma dump, for lack of a better word. But then they never, like you're saying, they never say, like, I have been through this and this is what I did to feel better. Or this is like, and I feel like it's less about, you don't have to necessarily tell me like, yes, I'm good, I'm great, right? Like, it's not like I'm saying like, you have to tell me like, how did you, how did you,
It's
leave that?
okay to not be okay, right?
Right.
That
Yeah.
toxic
And it's like,
positivity, right?
yeah. And I always feel like, oh, is it awkward for me to be like, oh, well, how have you like healed from that kind of thing? Because I feel like if it's not like said in the beginning, then I'm wondering if it's like, or if they say it later, I'm just wondering, like, does that mean you kind of never healed from that, or where does that lie?
Yeah, and another thing too is especially in that conversation where it's like every relationship they've been in has been a disaster. Well, the common denominator is who? Why do we keep choosing these people? Am I in that bucket now? Now I don't want to date that guy. That's like every ex of mine's a crazy person. It's like, well, then you're attracted to crazy. And I hate to tell you, I'm not that, and so that's another red flag. Because that's the other thing too with women, like we're detectives. We get off to figuring out who this man is, right? And so if this man is, you know, showing a very, very two-dimensional side of himself, this is why nice guys don't really get very far. It's like we have nothing else to detect. We have nothing else to find out. You're just kind of showing this one shallow side of just, I'm nice, I'm agreeable. Everyone else, I blame everyone else for everything bad happening, but this is why I'm so kind. It's like, it doesn't really entice us to want to search more, right? So it's about being honest, but also taking responsibility and understanding that, and this is the reality, 99% of the time, it's not going to work. That's why it's the one, not the 20%, not the 10%. It's the one. So 99 times is not going to work out. So how can we have a better relationship when it doesn't work out? This is where the whole energy conversation comes in. That energy is meant for somebody else, and that's okay. And it sucks, and it's okay to not be okay. And I have to let this person go. But that's so good because they're going to find someone, I'm going to find someone, and I'm not going to carry that weight with me anymore. So relating it back to energy is definitely a very good help in that frame.
So since we're talking about like how to be a better dater, especially during the talking phase, I wanted to ask this. So this is like a more lighter question. So it's just like during the talking phase, is it best to have more than one option? So nowadays, I feel like most people I've talked to about their dating lives, they always present that they have more than one option. So essentially, they're all in the talking phase, and they're like, oh yeah, I am talking to Jared, but I'm also talking to Kyle, and I'm also talking to Steven, and then I kind of like intermingle with the both of them. And then over time, I'm like, okay, I'm going to knock out Steven. I'm going to knock out Jared. Like, those kinds of things. And
we're having our own little game of The Bachelor.
Basically, and it's like, do you think this is healthy? Is this normal, or like it's a good thing to be able to do this, or do you think that this can be overwhelming for some people, or it's not the best thing to do?
Yeah. So basically, I have kind of two schools of thought with this. The first being, in every aspect of our life, we're meant to try everything. Why not apply that logic to something as important as choosing a partner? The reason why I'm able to choose so well is because I've dated so many, right? And because I know exactly what I like and what I don't like, right? So then when I meet that new person that emulates the qualities that I very much like and doesn't showcase the qualities that I don't like, I know to pursue that person. The other side of this, is whenever someone asks me how much or how little, right? How many people should I date in the talking phase? Or how many times should I text her before or after the date? How many times should I reach out to her to confirm the date? Whenever the question comes with how much or how little, the answer that I give them is, you're asking the wrong question. It's not quantity, it's quality. So to apply it to this subject, it's, how many people should I be dating in the talking phases? Okay, well, what is the quality of the relationships of the people you're talking to? Are you having a very, very deep, deep, deep connection with one of them? well, then, yeah, you're naturally not going to want to talk to other people, other women, other men, because that relationship is building. And that's okay. Yes, you might not be exclusive just yet, but honor that feeling where you're just like, I really don't feel like I should be going on another first date when me and Kyle spend all night talking and this is our third date and we're texting all the time. And okay, well, honor that and feel that out. Don't date for the sake of dating, because that's also not fair to Joey over here you might be going on a first date with. The opposite's true, especially for men, because men aren't as lucky as us, right? Because women, we tend to have the quantity in the beginning. Men are a little bit more struggling. But either way, men, just because you're going on a couple of dates with a girl, or you maybe got a number, does not mean you should stop all talking to women, right? Oh, I have a second date, so therefore I'm going to delete my dating apps, or I'm going to stop talking or stop reaching out to. Well, no, the quality of that talking phase with that one person isn't very strong just yet. So while it's still shallow, and I say shallow as a loose term, right? While you're still kind of getting to know each other and things don't really feel very deep just yet, yeah, you're absolutely welcome to date more, right? And I encourage it. But as soon as something starts energetically feeling deep, real, connected, okay, well then honor those feelings of naturally not wanting to talk to other people. Follow through with that.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I agree with that. When it comes to women, we genuinely usually have the advantage in terms of numbers, like what you were saying. We're the ones that are like, yeah, we might have more options than the men. Like I might have like 5 potential suitors versus a man in my same position might only have maybe just one. So it's like, I can see how that also takes a place. This is another light question. It's just like yes or no. It's like based on energy and attraction. And do you think making a move on the first date, yes or no? Like just do it, or you're like, no, don't do it. Or is it you got to feel out the vibes? You got to feel how the date went.
What move are we making there?
Exactly. It's like, I mean, it's could be as subjective as you like it to be, but
So,
I always wonder.
What I mean? Okay, so for me, first of all, there's never an absolute, right? The way that I say it when I talk about attraction is an art, not a science. 2 + 2 doesn't always equal 4, right? So the answer is never going to be 100% yes, do this, 100% no, because the reality is from kissing all the way to sex, right? I know couples that have had sex on the first date that are married now. I know couples that have had sex on the first date that hate each other, that have never talked to each other ever again. You know what I mean? Like there's no right answer to any of this, right? We have to feel things energetically, which is why you have to be in tuned with yourself first and foremost, and then the world around you, right? So making the move, but to all my men out there, okay, you should absolutely be making the move on the first date if you feel the connection. And the way that you do that is you have to put yourself out there in a way that's going to make her want you to kiss her. You need to be making her want you to make the first move. And the way to do that, the first step is believing and assuming she likes you. It's the moment you start messing up is thinking, does she like this? I don't know. She seems to be smiling, but maybe she's uncomfortable. Maybe I don't know. I don't know what to say now. Now you've tapped yourself out of the game, right? To breathe through it, be confident, and give her a fun time, positive emotional experience to where she wants to kiss you at the end of the night. And actually, I would even argue, try not to wait until the end of the night, because then it's like a kiss because we feel like we have to, instead of a kiss because it's the spark of the moment, right? And that can be broken down, to 3 ways about how to escalate, where to start, how to escalate from there. But that's more into my coaching and whatnot. But regardless, yes, you're always trying to cultivate that connection, because women, we want to fall in love. We want to have that relationship, be that man for us, right? But you have to show a fun, confident, playful side for us to feel like you're the prize that we want to earn as women.
Yes, I love that. So, going into giving any more tips and tricks in terms of, being a dater in the dating phase, what do you think, when you were telling me that you act as like the catfish essentially, you're like, I'm the one talking to the women, helping them out, right? So, what do you think is something that you always notice that it could be on the men's side or it could be on the women's side that you feel like in the dating phase that it you would say like this is like the most important thing, and it's either women or men, this always doesn't happen for whatever reason until several days later or several weeks later, and you're like, I wish if this would happen, from the start, this relationship would have sparked instantly. What do you think something like that would be?
So it was actually something. I mean, something I want to say first. So I'm seeing David's comments in here, and I wanted to just kind of reach out to that. So one thing I keep hearing David say is, men, we have to do all the legwork. Men, we have to do all the work. Men, we have to do all the work. The reality is that society has conditioned men to have to do that because women, believe it or not, actually have a lot more to lose in a relationship than men do, right? We can get attacked, we can become pregnant, we can get, shamed by our friends, by our society. We could, our reputations can be on the line. If things don't go well for us, we're the ones that get, caught up in the drama more so than the men do. So unfortunately, over time, women have been programmed to where we need to see you make the first move for us to feel comfortable wanting to pursue things with you. So at the end of the day, and to answer your question, it's the victim mindset on both of our ends is the thing that holds us back from actually having relationships. We can argue until our face turns blue about who has it worse, men or women, men or women, men or women. A better question is this conversation helpful? You can say, yep, women have it better. All right, now what? Now you're just going to be hating women the whole time and confirmation bias. Well, she's not going to do anything. So exactly. So now all of a sudden, now all you're going to find is women that don't put in effort because that's the only thing you're looking for. Right. When I say, hey, listen, don't think of a pink elephant. What's the first thing you're going to think of? Pink elephant.
Yeah.
Right? When you're constantly thinking women don't do effort, women don't, I got to always make the first move. You're only going to find women that aren't going to make any effort. So again, your challenge is to get out of that and say, okay, how can I figure out a way to win? Because women also have to do this too. Women also have to figure out a way to win. Okay, how can I present myself as I get older, as attractive, as fun, as intelligent, as someone that is kind, that men want to actually approach me, that I do have a chance at love, that I can be a good potential mother, a potential wife, right? We all have our challenges. And so the goal here is to not put yourself in the mindset of, A or B has it worse, because that's always going to set you back.
So it seems like he really wants to know. He wants to know how long do you generally put in effort before you realize you are wasting your time. And he said, I'm not saying I mind the effort, I don't mind. Also, he keeps asking. That's genuinely he's asking. He's just like, how long before it's like, you know what, you're not really doing anything, so I'm gonna go. Like,
so I would try and change up the subject and the communication style, right? So much of attraction, and this is a common mistake that men make. So much of attraction, building of attraction in women is what you speak with them indirectly. It's independent of us. So how you talk to our group of friends, right? So a lot of guys, when they find a girl that they're attracted to, they just talk to her. They ignore the friends, right? The cock blocks, right? Or even if there's a guy in the group, right? Oh, there's a guy in the group. I don't want to talk to him, right? So I'm just going to try and wiggle her out just so I can talk to her. But again, going back to that attraction trigger, that's not how we're attracted. We need to see how you navigate the social environment around you. Leave us wanting more. So your thing is try and get us to laugh, crack a few jokes, be playful, be outrageous, just speak in sentences, not in questions, right? Where you're actually drawing us in on curiosity. And when we're chomping at the bit, all of a sudden divert your attention, talk to somebody else, get her friends involved. Right? So now she's like, wait a minute, he's not putting me on a pedestal. I'm not the most important person in the room. Now I'm curious. he must be, that deal with him must be sweeter than I might be realizing it. So I want to talk to him now. Now he's valuable because I see the way other people treat him in the room. And now I'm curious, right? And this is what I teach when it comes to playing off of your curiosity versus what old school pickup artists used to teach, which is playing off of your insecurity, which is very toxic. It only works for insecure women. So the only women you're going to end up attracting are insecure women, da, da, da. But either way, so I teach how to play off of your curiosity. Now, to answer your question, if you're having a great time, if you're just speaking to her because you're inviting her to add to your fun, and she's still not giving you very much, and she's just giving you one or word answers, and she's kind of looking around and looking at her body language, she doesn't seem like she's very open, she seems very closed, yeah, walk. All right, have a good rest of your night. See you later, right? And keep it moving. You know what I mean? The other thing too is you don't need to stay there for very long. You can talk to her just enough to get her interested. But then, all right, I got to go grab a drink. See you around. What's your name again? All right, don't be a stranger. And then you can always circle back later if you're at a bar situation, for example, right? So there are ways to build that what we call IOIs, right? Indicators of interest. So you're not just talking at them the whole time, hoping that it's going to miraculously happen. But she needs to see who you are in your environment to trigger that same attraction that she triggered in you with her looks. And that's how it works either way.
Another great answer. I can see why you have so many followers. They're like Jamie Day is it. We gotta follow her. We gotta be under her coaching spell. We gotta be with her. I was like, I know you said you've been doing it for a while, but yeah, everything you're saying is very well put. It's very well said. I can see why they're like, yes, like you help us. You are great. I was like, everything you're saying right now, I feel like for all the men who are watching, they're like, wow. And if there's any women watching, I would also be like, look at what they go through from the other side. Cause I feel like it's very easy as women to like kind of, for lack of a better word, but like put off like what they essentially do, like, cause
shout that from the rooftops. A crazy statistic. You ever want to see something that actually changed my life and actually the way that I do my page is ask men the last time they've received a compliment. Men don't get compliments ever. I mean, unless they're very attractive, right? But by and large, men don't get a lot of compliments. And can you imagine as women going through life, never receiving a compliment? That's wild. I mean, you open up my DMs, there's 5 million of them. I'm sure you can do the same thing too, Nadia. Like men, they go through life not receiving a lot of positive praise. And then now it's amplified with social media and women, sitting and waiting for them to do. So now I've taken to my page, and now I have Man Appreciation Monday, where every Monday I make a video just appreciating masculine energy, because we need masculine energy. We need feminine energy. We need masculine energy. And they're both necessary and beautiful in their own capacities. And we need to just come back to that. And once again, both of us drop our ego and start inviting those healthy energy into our lives, then we can cultivate higher frequency and live a happier, more prosperous life, right? When it comes to relationships, because the reality is that money doesn't buy happiness, buys options, doesn't buy happiness. What buys happiness is relationships. They've studied this. Relationships, platonic, romantic, or otherwise, buys us actual happiness. And so if we knew that, and if happiness is the goal, why are we not prioritizing having better relationships with the opposite sex, right? And so this is what I talk about, going back to the way you speak. Watch the way that you speak. And this especially goes out to all my women out there. Women, if you are constantly bashing about how men are terrible and men are awful and they're pigs and they're animals, this is exactly what you're going to end up attracting. Men, if you're out there saying, women are, they don't make the effort, they have it so easy, they have this, we have to do everything, you're going to attract a lazy partner, right? So again, words are spells. That's why they call it spelling. It all starts with the way that you speak.
I love that you just said that. You know,
Mhm.
and I feel like that is very true in itself because I feel like that kind of conversation makes the difference between a make it or break it moment for anything, whether it's the talking phase or it's like actually like going into a relationship, maybe like even like 3 months deep, let's just say. I just feel like the kind of conversations that you spark or entice make the difference. Because let's just say, you know, I was meeting someone and they're actually a good fit for me, a good match for me, you know, based on everything that I know about them, they know about me, etc. But because of the conversations that we're not sparking, it's kind of just dead blank. Then it's kind of like, oh, I just let this good guy kind of go because the conversations we were having were just pretty bland, pretty dead. But had those words changed a little bit, had the conversations, had the questions changed, you know, just different perspective, different arches of the way we're talking, maybe then it would have been like, yeah, actually, this guy Mike, I was like, we've been like hitting off, we're talking very well now, and like, you know, etc. Versus just like if it got cut off short. Because I also wonder too if some matches just never happen because of the lack of communication that happens in the beginning, and not necessarily like the communication of like, hey, where are you? What are you doing? Blah blah blah. I'm more talking about like the kinds of conversations that you're sparking, like what are you saying to entice me to respond, and you know, vice versa, you know, like what is my response back.
Right. I think and also I think corn also has to do with this too, is men are starting to see us as a completely separate species, right? Like they feel as if they cannot talk to us in the way, like so many men come up to me and they're just like, I don't know, like I'm such an introvert, like I'm shy, like I don't know what to say, I don't know how to be funny. And I'm like, really? So your best friends, the people that you hang out with you, they would say that you're not funny? They would say that you're not, well, no, they think I'm funny. Okay, well, would they say that you're shy? Do you talk? Well, no, I talk to them. Okay, well, why not treat the women that you're talking to with the same charisma as you do with the people who love you the most? Tap into that energy. If you find it funny, odds are we're gonna probably find it funny. But it's funny to me when I you know I'm actually gonna reference one of my good friends. He's hilarious. You know, he's great. His name's Joe. He's a great guy, super funny. And then the minute I see him talking to a girl, it's like, where did Joe go? What happened? You know what I mean? And so it's tapping into who that person is when you're around the people who love you most. You can joke around with us. Treat us like you do your homies, right? Because think about it, especially women who grew up with brothers. I didn't grow up with brothers, but I grew up with a lot of, you know, guy friends, right? I see how you and your guy friends relate. You guys rag on each other. That's how you guys show love. You guys tease one another and, you know, rag on each other. And it's so fun. It's so the way that you guys talk and banter. But then with us, oh, I don't know how to tease. I'm going to agree with her. I'm just going to be nice. I'm just getting, you know, and hope that it results into something. It's like, no. Treat us not better than you, not worse than you. Treat us like an equal, baby, like you do your homies, right? And that is the energy. And that's one of the frames that I talk about is treat everyone like an old best friend you haven't seen in a while, right? Excited, enthusiastic, and curious. Because you want to find out about them. You haven't seen them in a while, but you feel like you already know them, right? So be okay with being able to tease, being able to make jokes, crack jokes, be playful, talk about your opinions, even if they differ from mine, right? Women want to see a man that has a backbone, that isn't just going to agree to everything that we say because we're pretty, right? Because that also doesn't make us feel safe, because then
Right.
you're probably going to be doing that with every other girl,
Want to
right?
see confidence, just be confident.
Right. And so what does that look like, right? Because that's the other thing. Be confident. Okay, well, how do you do that? Right? Be yourself. Okay, how do you do that? Right? Be confident, three things: competency, community, consistency. Right? You got to be competent. So practice. Actually talk to women. Do it enough to where you're desensitized by it. Community, go out with friends, try it with other people, talk to a coach, right? And then consistency, do it often so that it becomes second nature. All of those equals confidence.
This is very well put. Everything you've been saying is great. I appreciate your time and you joining us on the podcast. Our time is very close to an end. I can't believe we're already at this point. But I wanted to take this one last question from Drew before I wrap it up. And he wants to know, what's your thought on communication and conflict resolution in relationships?
I mean, vital, right? But communication, a lot of people just say communicate, but communication is not just talking, it's listening, right? It's understanding. So communication is talking, listening, and coming up with a solution together, right? That's what we mean by communication. Because if you're not comprehending what's being said, you might as well just be talking to the wall, right? A great line to use is, hey, can I talk to you about something that's bothering me? Is now a good time? Hey, help me understand, when you said this, what did you mean? And the whole goal is to present it in a way like a detective, like a journalist. A journalist is a better example, right? You're not tied to it. Why did you do this to me? It's, what did you mean when you said that? As if you were not the other person in that role. You are just now trying to find out more because you want to first seek to understand, then to be understood. And that's a real, and the other main factor of this is doing it immediately, not letting it sit. A lot of guys, especially guys who fall into the nice guy frame, they'll let things sit and bury, and it becomes a pressure cooker to then explode later, right? So that's the other thing too. Don't be a people pleaser, ladies. Don't be a nice guy, guys. Be able to say things as they're coming up for you in a way where you're curious about it, because people very rarely do things for malicious intent. They very rarely do things to hurt you. They do things because it's the best of what they could do in that time. And so you have to figure out first what that is before you allow yourself to react.
Yeah, it's very well put. You know, that is very good advice for all men and even women out there. It's like, when something happens, immediately like reflect on it, like that kind of thing, where it's like, this happened, now you're like going into like what you were just saying, like with a follow-up, like, oh well, and how you ask it too makes a difference, instead of you just being like, why did you do this to me? Well, like, it's like less of a kind of like attack approach essentially. But
Mhm.
I was like, so thank you so much for your time and answering all these people's questions. I was like, the video will be put up on YouTube for people to watch later and see the rest of it later. I will post clips later on our Instagram, tag you, all that good stuff. So thank you so much for hanging out with us. Thank you for everyone who participated in the chat. Well, Jamie Date here. She is awesome. Go give her a follow on Instagram. I was like, everything she says is amazing and true and awesome. Her energy here was awesome.